What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is my top 10 best films of 2023 list. Very much so looking forward to give you guys this video. Now, as of filming this video, which is on January 21st of 2024, I've seen 124 2023 films. I am looking forward to watch one more 2023 film, and that is The Zone of Interest, but unfortunately it hasn't reached me locally. It is technically in the city, which is an hour or so away from me, but unfortunately in my area there's been a lot of wintry weather, so I haven't been able to make that venture out. So again, I'm hoping that locally speaking, The Zone of Interest gets closer to me, but that will probably be in a couple weeks, which is unfortunate. But until then, this is again my top 10 best films of 2023 list. Keep in mind, my list is going to be very different from yours, and that's what's great about film. It is subjective as an art form. I will be giving you guys 5 honorable mentions, and then I will be going from 10 to 1, with 1 being, of course, the best film of 2023, in my humble opinion. So guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking things off with honorable mentions, we have American Fiction. This is a film that I saw in November as a part of a AMC Screen Unseen, and I'm so glad that I got to see this early because I really like this film. It is a great blend of comedy drama with a killer performance by Jeffrey Wright and an ending that is unforgettable. This is a film that, going into the third act, I thought it was going to end a certain way in quite a cliche fashion, and thankfully it did not. In fact, it ended in a completely different way, and in a way that I haven't been able to get out of my head since I've seen it. It's a really, really good ending. Would highly recommend you check this out. I do know that it recently went wide, and in a couple days the Academy Award Best Picture nominations will be announced, and I definitely can see this film getting nominated, and definitely deservingly so. It's a really good film, and yeah, highly recommend you check out American Fiction. It's a crowd-pleasing film. Next honorable mention, we have The Beasts. This is an underappreciated film. Don't get me wrong, critics really liked it when it came out over the summer, but I don't really hear too much discussion about this film, which is a shame because it's a really good drama. It's a slow burn drama that starts off as one thing and then by the halfway point turns into something completely else. And it's really, really good. Cinematography is outstanding. There are some long takes that are really, really good. Dialogue is quite engaging. It's just a film that I haven't been able to get out of my head since I've seen it over the summer. And yeah, very, very underappreciated these days. Highly recommend you check out The Beasts, especially if you can appreciate character studies and slow burn dramas. It's almost 2.5 hours, but I think it's very much so well worth your time, especially for more seasoned film goers. And yeah, The Beast is an honorable mention. Next honorable mention, we have a film that I've seen on quite a bit of people's top 10 worst movies of 2023 list, which I think is a shame. And that honorable mention is Infinity Pool. So I've actually seen this twice. I saw it once in theaters, January of 2023, and then I saw it Blu-ray. I think it was like in April or May of 2023. I really liked this film. I think it is a very good venture into art house horror. I think that it's a really good character study of a character that might not necessarily be likable, but his journey is something that is quite intriguing for me personally. And I also think that the ending is quite symbolic, and it just, I don't know, it really hit hard, man, especially the first time I saw it. Also, the psychedelic orgy sequence is just phenomenal. Easily one of the best scenes of 2023. Not a film that's for everyone, for sure. Even for people that like weird cinema, might not necessarily be for everyone. I can see that, but at the same time, I gotta say, I was on this film's wavelength, and yeah, that's why it's an honorable mention. Next up, we have May December. This is a film that's on Netflix. It's Todd Haynes' latest film. The same director did Carol, Far From Heaven. I really like this film. I think that this film, I know when it came out, there's a lot of discussion on Twitter on if it's a melodrama or not. I don't care personally. I just think that this is a really well done film with a really good script that handles its characters very delicately in a fashion that really was respectful. 3 lead performances, Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman, and Charles Melton, they are all phenomenal, Oscar worthy, and just an ending that really stuck with me. Again, everything in this film, it's very sensitive subject matter, but it's handled with ease. It's really, really good. Highly recommend May December. Again, it's on Netflix, so if you do have that, would highly recommend you check it out on said app. But yeah, that's May December. And last but not least, my last honorable mention, the film that was so close to reaching my top 10, so close, and that is All of Us Strangers. This is a film that I saw recently, and I'm not gonna lie, at first when the film began, I thought it was just solid, but each passing minute it got better and better, and by the end, man, I was in tears. Like, it was just a really good film, like a really good character study. It's a fantasy, it's a drama, it's of course art house, but it's really, really good. I think that it is a human drama first. Like, I feel like anyone can relate to the character journey that he goes through. Like, it's really, really interesting. I think it's such a fascinating film. It's not going to be for everyone, though, because it is quite slow. There's also not that many characters, so many people might not like the fact that it has more emphasis on character study than, like, you know, say plotting, if you will. But for me, sometimes I'm okay with the films not really having plotting. I'm okay with that. I'm more about storytelling and, of course, my character's journey. And this film definitely has that. Like, it's a focused film that works really well with an ending that so good. So All of Us Strangers, highly recommend it. And again, so close to reaching my top 10. But there were 10 films that I liked more. All right, guys, and now we get into the nitty-gritty top 10. So kicking these off, my number 10, we have How to Blow Up a Pipeline. What a film. This is a film that I always hear the term like, oh, the film was very fast paced. Like, it starts off right away where it's like, you know, thrilling. And that's usually not the case. It's usually like 10, 15 minutes, but not How to Blow Up a Pipeline. That is a film that starts right off the gate where it is extremely fast paced. And what I love about the film most is that this is a film that has very important themes and messages. But even more importantly, this is a film where the characters, you get to know them, not necessarily through downtime, but through their actions and how they react to things. And also how they react to things is something that we can all relate to because it's a very human film. We've all seen individuals such as these characters on screen in our real life, and that's something I also really appreciate. It is a gritty looking film. It is a film that isn't exactly happy, so to speak, but it is a film that if you want something that makes you think whilst at the same time is quite thrilling, this is definitely the film for you. I loved How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I hope that it gets a Blu-ray or 4K release sometime soon because I will definitely be picking it up. And yeah, I loved How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Saw it twice, and I'm so glad I saw it a second time. Looking forward to watching it a third time. But yeah, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, it's my number 10. Next up, my number 9 is Fair Play. So Fair Play is a film that I gotta say right off the bat, I'm so glad that I got a Twitter because if I didn't get a Twitter, I don't think I would have heard about this film necessarily because I happened to see a Twitter article about this film and how, you know, the dynamics of the characters is something that's fascinating. He tried not to get into spoilers, which I appreciated. And then, of course, For Your Consideration, which is a channel that I would highly recommend you guys check out, they then ironically started talking about Fair Play. So it was like 2 plus 2. I was like, okay, so 4, I'm going to check out Fair Play. And I did. And I got to say, Fair Play is a great thriller. It's a film that's similar to How to Blow Up a Pipeline. It's a thriller with a message and themes that are something that are so relevant to today. I mean, to forever, I should say, that you can't help but really get on board with these characters' journey. It has 2 of the best performances I've seen all year. They are fantastic. They have really interesting chemistry. They feel fully three-dimensional. You understand both of their point of views, even though one of their point of views you can especially understand and say, yes, you're in the right, even though it's a film that does dive into a lot of morally gray themes and messages that I did appreciate. It's a very well shot film. What's also crazy is that this film, it's a feature-length debut from someone, and it's great. It's really good. I would highly recommend you check this out. It is on Netflix. Netflix, I believe, bought the rights to this film, so it is on Netflix, although I do hope it gets a physical media release sometime soon. But yeah, if you want a film that is quite thrilling, that at the same time makes you think, check out Fair Play. It's well worth your time. And yeah, that's why it's my number 9. Next up, my number 8, this is The Holdovers. So The Holdovers is a film that does such a great job with characters. It is a feel-good film, which I forgot to mention. My number 9 and my number 10, they really aren't feel-good films. Like, I know I mentioned that with my number 10, but my number 9 also really isn't a feel-good film. But my number 8 is a feel-good film. It feels like a nice warm blanket on a wintry day. Like, it is the perfect blend of comedy and drama. It's got fantastic performances. I especially loved Paul Giamatti's performance. He is someone that I've always been a fan of. But here, seeing his range as an actor was something that I really appreciated. He takes you on this character's journey, and you go from like not really liking him to someone that you understand to someone that by the end, you fully embrace him as a fully fleshed out individual that you think of as someone that you actually know in real life. And that's the power of filmmaking, man. And also the 70s aesthetic of the cinematography I love, the soundtrack. It is a film that I think will only get better. And it is on Peacock. I did see it in theaters, which was great. It was a great theater experience, but I do believe it is on streaming on Peacock. And this is a film that I will be looking to pick up on Blu-ray or 4K down the line. So yeah, The Holdovers, please watch it if you want a feel-good film. It's really good. That's why it's my number 8. Next up, my number 7. Here's another film that's not exactly a feel-good film. My number 7 is Killers of the Flower Moon. the latest Martin Scorsese film. And once again, Martin Scorsese showcases that runtime doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if a film's 3 hours or 3.5 hours or 4 hours. For as long as cinema's been around, there have been that duration of films. It's all on how the director, the writer, the editor, everyone comes together and makes a film that is quite engaging. And I gotta say, Killers of the Flower Moon, it managed to utilize its 3 hours and 26 runtime in a way that I was invested throughout the entire duration. Killers of the Flower Moon, it rocks. It is a fantastic film. What's also great about this film is that not only is it constantly entertaining and engaging, it's also a film that brings to life history that, let's face it, many people aren't really aware about. So it's bringing about all these themes and messages in a way that, excuse me, we all need to know about, but done so in a way that is quite insightful. Like, this is a film that I think will age quite well. It's very well shot. I love the cinematography, the score, the performances, DiCaprio, Gladstone. It's a film that is brewing with so much life. You really get to understand these characters. You get every single viewpoint, even if you don't necessarily like it. It's something that is a fully fleshed out film. And I gotta say, the ending, it is a swing for the fences, and it worked for me. But at the same time, it's not necessarily going to work for everyone. But I think that Scorsese's directing definitely leads up to this ending in a way that feels earned. He does everything in such a meticulous way. He showcases everything. So that way, when the ending happens and it's not quite as meticulous, again, trying to be spoiler free, it makes sense. If you've seen the film, you get what I'm saying. I don't want to spoil the ending, but it is something that it's something special, and it's something that I can see might bring about, different views in terms of some people might not liking it, and that's okay. But for me, I loved the ending. It was heartbreaking, but really, really well done. And yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about that. Killers of the Flower Moon. It's my number 7. I loved it. Highly recommend it. Next up, my number 6 is Anatomy of a Fall. So this is a film that it's about 2.5 hours. It is a neon film. This is a truly great performance by the lead actress. But not only that, it's a very well-directed film. It throws you right into a courtroom drama, procedural style. And that's something I really appreciated because it really goes step by step in terms of how all this works. And I think that also because it's from another country, it's even more insightful because you understand, how this system works through this film. What's also great about this film, and I don't think gets talked about enough, is the sound design. It's so subtle in this film, but it really brings to life how great the performances are, how great the writing is, and the directing, because there really isn't a score in this film. And I love scores. Don't get me wrong. I love it when, you have a score and it's really, helping with the pacing and the rhythm. But here, you didn't need a score. And it was something that I think was really, really effective. Similar to some of these other movies I mentioned, I love the ending. I do think it's a film that will get better on rewatch because it's definitely a film that puts you in a viewpoint to where it's subjective. There's really no right answer in terms of all of this, but it's great to be almost like a jury member watching this film. I loved it, man. I really did. This is a film that, if you get a chance, I would highly recommend you check out Anatomy of a Fall. It is really, really good. But not for everyone, because it is a film that it is very meticulous in how it's going about everything. So some people might not necessarily be invested or entertained, but for the more seasoned moviegoers, I would highly recommend you check it out. And that's why, for me, Anatomy of a Fall, my number 6. All right, guys, now we get into the nitty-gritty top 5. So, my number 5, we have The Killer. This is David Fincher's latest film. I am a huge fan of David Fincher, for sure. In fact, I literally have a shirt dedicated to David Fincher. But he is someone that I can admit that he isn't someone that's like a director that is, I don't know how many films has he done? I think he's done 11. He's not someone that is 11 for 11 in my book. Like, I wasn't a fan of Alien 3, and Mank, I think, is solid, but I didn't love it. So going into The Killer, I was excited, but at the same time, I was still like, okay, where's this going to fall in terms of his filmography? And I'll say this, The Killer is definitely not top 5 Fincher, not even close. But it is a film that, in terms of this year and with where I am in life, I loved The Killer. I thought it was great. It's a film that, for me, I'm someone that really likes films that are, complex. Like, they're delving into a lot. It's something that you constantly have to pay attention to. And that's the case with The Killer, except with The Killer, it's a very simple premise. What makes it stand out is the fact that how it's executed. You have Fincher's directing. You have Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's beautiful score, the icy cinematography that is digitally shot yet at the same time captivating, the sound mixing. Oh my goodness, the sound mixing is incredible. This is a great example of a film that is elevated by the filmmaking and entertainment value. But it's not a film that I would say, oh yeah, it's super, super complex. It's not, but it is a film that with what it's going for, it does it so well. And sometimes that's all I need. Again, not one of Fincher's best films, but it is a film that it is directed by him. And because of him, as well as all the people that he puts behind it in front of the camera, it's a captivating film. It really is. And I loved the ending. It's the ending almost serves as like a punchline, which I forgot to mention. This film, yes, it is a thriller, but it does have a lot of comedy in terms of the narration. So it's a film I would definitely recommend. And I do think that it is accessible to everyone, even though I've heard some people don't necessarily like the ending. But again, if you look at it as something that's kind of almost like a punchline, I think you'll like it. It is on Netflix. So if you do have that, I would highly recommend you check this film out. I loved The Killer. It is a film that's, again, simple premise, done exceptionally well. So yeah, check out The Killer. But yeah, that's my number 5. Next up, my number 4, we have the film that I went into it and I wasn't excited in the slightest, and that is my number 4, which is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. So you might be asking yourself, why wasn't I excited about this film? Because Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was so good. Well, that's just it. It's a film that I liked Into the Spider-Verse so much that I was nervous for a sequel, especially because it's coming from Sony, who is notorious for not doing a good job in terms of sequels, like producing sequels. So I wasn't excited for it. Like, it didn't even make my top 10 most anticipated films of 2023. And I went into it with an open mind, though. I was like, okay, maybe it will be good. I gotta come to terms with the fact that it's not going to be as good as its predecessor. But lo and behold, I was blown away by this film. I saw this twice in theaters, and I did watch it a third time on 4K, and holy cow, this is a film that I actually somehow, some way, I liked it better than Into the Spider-Verse. It is a film that serves up as an example on how a sequel can double down in certain elements, but also excel thematically. This is a film that I think really, really works, and is also a good example of a superhero film that is an art form. I mean, like, there's that whole debate about if superhero movies are, cinema, and this is definitely a thing where it's like, if you're having that argument, you can say, yeah, it is cinema, because look at Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It is a beautifully shot film. The animation, the score, the soundtrack, the animation, the ending. I think the ending also is just great. It's a nice tie into the beginning of this film. I like how we get to see, Gwen and Miles both have pretty much equal screen time, and they both do a great job. In fact, I dare say I might even care about Gwen even more. This is a film that is just so complex, and it's a film that is PG, but manages to have so much complexity that is geared towards people of all ages. I loved this film. I really did. If you haven't watched this yet, I would highly recommend it. It is a great, great film. And that is why I have it, of course, at my number 4. Next up, my number 3. This is going to be a controversial pick, and I'll explain, though. But my number 3 is Asteroid City. So I loved Asteroid City, but similar to Infinity Pool, I have seen this on some people's worst movies of 2023 list. And for the life of me, I really can't understand that, although I will say that Wes Anderson is a filmmaker that sometimes his films do take multiple viewings, and I will say in this video right off the bat, when I watched Asteroid City, I was expecting something along the lines of like French Dispatch. Like, I was kind of accepting the fact that he's going to be making just solid films at this point that are just so digestible. So I went and I saw this. I think it was like an 8:39 p.m. showing at night. And I was not expecting, literally it throws you right into all these different aspect ratios, color changes. And, as someone that's a seasoned filmgoer, I understand that when a filmmaker does that, it's to showcase that there's probably different timelines or different meanings. So watching this film late at night, I was not expecting all this complexity. I know I should have, because I'm the same person that loves Grand Budapest Hotel, and that is a film that is deceptively deep. So watching it the first time, I liked it, but it wasn't even a film that made my top 10 at that point in time. But I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't get the imagery out of my head. I couldn't get the dialogue, the humor. I couldn't get it out of my head. So I watched it a second time. I got the Blu-ray out from the library. I watched it a second time. I liked it even more. And then I picked it up on Blu-ray for $10, and I watched it again, and I loved it even more. And then I saw it a fourth time, which was the last film that I saw of 2023, and I was like, holy cow, I love this film. It is fantastic. It is actually one of my favorite Wes Anderson films. I think that it is actually a Similar to Grand Budapest Hotel, it is a deceptively deep film. It is delving into a lot of different issues. And I think that it also serves up as an example of Wes Anderson almost dealing with the pandemic, like how he dealt with it, and that he wrote this film, and it's really good. It's also got one of the best casts. It's got one of the best scores of the year. It's just a film that overall, it's so well put together. But I do think that people just kind of write it off because it's Wes Anderson doing Wes Anderson, whilst at the same time not looking a little closer, unfortunately. So I loved this film. I really do. I do think that if you're a Wes Anderson fan, especially, I would recommend it. But this is a film that is in my third place spot. But I will acknowledge that this is not a film for everyone. I know that if I watched this 10 years ago, I would not have liked this film, because I'm saying this because 10 years ago I watched Moonrise Kingdom for the first time, and I didn't like it. If you don't like Wes Anderson, this isn't a film that's going to change your mind about him. But if you are open to his style and you are open to his thematic richness, then I would recommend you check it out. But it is a film that I understand why it's divisive, but I do wish that people would look a little closer. But that's just me. I loved it. That's why it's my number 3. Next up, my number 2 is a film that I really, really can't wait until it comes out on 4K, or unfortunately maybe just Blu-ray. But either way, I want it on physical media. My number 2 is Poor Things. This is Yorgos Lanthimos' latest film, and holy cow, this is a fantastic film. It's a film that builds and builds with each act. It is a film that blends so many different genres, specifically comedy and drama, in a way that works so well. It's got some of the best makeup I've seen all year, costume design, score, cinematography. Similar to Asteroid City, it utilizes a lot of different filmmaking techniques in terms of aspect ratios, color changes. But the difference is that watching Poor Things, I've only seen it one time so far. Because I watched it like 6 o'clock at night, I was mentally prepared that this is going to be a film that's going to be, I have to be mentally prepared that there's going to be a lot that I have to take in. So I'm glad that that was the case, because Poor Things is just that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an entertaining film through thick and thin, but it's a film that also is quite complex in its nature. Loves the ending. It's quite satisfying. It is easily one of the best films of 2023. And I'm not going to lie, if it wins Best Picture, I would be ecstatic. I truly would. And also, I'm not going to lie, my number 1 and 2 is something that it was battling it out. Like, it was tough. It was tough choosing which was going to be my number 1 slot. But ultimately, Poor Things, as the filming this video, I decided to go with my number 2. Highly recommend you check out Poor Things. But with the caveat being that it is a very oddball film. So going into it knowing that, it is quite odd. But I love odd films. But yeah, Poor Things, my number 2. Next up, my number 1. This is the film that, you all know what my number 1 is probably. My number 1 is a film that broke a lot of box offices, will probably win Best Picture. And that is, my number 1, Oppenheimer. Yeah, Oppenheimer I thought was incredible. I saw it twice in theaters in IMAX, and then I saw it a third time on 4K physical media. And I am already itching for a 4th viewing. It is that great. It is a film that, it's so incredible in terms of how Nolan was able to put this together. And similar to Poor Things, similar to Asteroid City, it is also a film that's dealing with different aspect ratios, different color palettes. And I think that this film especially just utilizes it in such a way that it is consistently asking audience members to follow along, and you have to pay attention. And I really admire that Nolan is trusting in viewers that, yeah, you're going to come along on this journey, but you got to pay attention extra. And I love that about him. I really do. This is a film that did remind me quite a bit of like The Social Network and JFK. And I mean that in the best compliments, because those two films are some of my favorite films of all time. So Oppenheimer, it is a film that I would highly recommend everyone to check out. It is a film that, unlike Asteroid City and unlike Poor Things, it is a film that I find it hard for viewers to really not like this film. You pretty much have to try not to like this film, because it is a film that just has so much range for viewers. I mean, there's a reason why it almost made $1 billion. Highly, highly recommend Oppenheimer, and I love this film. That's why it's my number 1. But yeah, guys, that is my top 10 best films of 2023. I want to see your guys' top 10 best films of 2023 in the comment section down below, as well as honorable mentions. And guys, as always, I really do appreciate you guys' support. Don't forget the subscription, notification bell, follow me down Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.